Hey,
Hey,
what are your New Year's resolutions?
New Year's resolutions for me, I don't really have like a list. It's just kind of like an idea. Like my idea for a New Year's resolution is to be a little bit more empathetic with everyone and to just be, happier and more positive or try to get there.
Well, that's nice. You want to know what mine is?
Sure.
Just to stop eating candy. I'm still eating Halloween candy.
Still?
Hi, it's Katy. Welcome back to the 7th ever episode of Young and Terrified. I am your humble host, Katy, and here with me today, my guest is Isa. Hi, Isa.
Hello, Katy.
Yeah, how have your past 24 hours been?
Well, my past 24 hours have been pretty interesting. For the most part, boring at home, doing nothing.
It's that tail end of winter break where just nothing happens. It's like, it's not even New Year's anymore. It's just like, okay, now I'm just here.
Yeah, we're 6 days into January and a little bit of cabin fever going on, at least for me being at home, but...
Definitely. So, Isa, I brought you on today for a lot of reasons. You are I would say the Renaissance woman. A Renaissance woman, a woman of many talents. And I feel one of your talents is stage managing. So we are both in theater together. And
Yes.
Can you describe what the role of a stage manager is for a high school theater production?
Yes, okay, so the stage manager is basically the director's right-hand man or woman. I block the entire show. I make sure that the actors show up to rehearsal, that they know when they're supposed to be called, what they're supposed to be doing, what time they're supposed to be there. I have to make sure that they actually show up. I have to keep track of if they show up late or if they don't come. I am also in charge of the technical aspect of the show. Tech.
You're looking at me.
So I also have to make sure that the sets get built, that we have an art department to come in and decorate the set or paint it. If something needs to be done with set pieces, we get that done. I help order costumes, and also, for example, I ordered a few mics with the supervisor for the show. Basically make sure that tech is there and they know what they're doing, and that I have everyone in tech and that they know what their job is. And yeah, I mean, it's very fun, and it's also very, very stressful because I feel, at least for me, I'm the kind of person that I love the responsibility, and I kind of feed off of that energy. So I can be very hard on myself if I don't feel like I get that done.
It sounds like a human circus in which you are the ringleader.
Oh, it is. But, I love being the ringleader. I love what I do. And I kind of want a future in, production for TV or movies or, commercials. So I think that's a great way to start.
Yeah, definitely. Get that work experience. I feel like theater is like a circus with highly caffeinated monkeys singing
Yes.
Let It Go 30,000 times on repeat.
Yeah, I can't tell you the amount of times I've heard a cappella on the Heights or Hamilton. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
They have forever ruined that musical for me.
I love Hamilton and Jesus Christ, like around when shows happen. It's gone. I'm like, I can't listen to this.
Yeah.
I'm props. I am.
Yes. Prep mistress.
I'm billed on Playbills as the prop master.
Yes.
I have taken on the title, though, affectionately, Prep mistress.
Yes. Very, very affectionately. I feel like props is very fun.
Props is like your job, but like 30,000 times easier.
Yes.
So I'll be like, why are you stressing out? I'm just having the time of my life here with my hats, telling people if they like put their phones on the table that I am going to sell them on eBay. It's great. But like, what makes being stage manager worth it?
For me, it's, sitting there. I'm also sometimes in charge of lights or sounds. lights, sounds, sometimes mic if, if certain people don't, get there when they're supposed to be, or, if sometimes things fall out of place and they need someone to fill that gap, I am that glue.
I feel like you're throwing shade at everyone in tech collectively.
It wouldn't necessarily be throwing shade. I'm being honest, I've had to fill in gaps here and there.
House lights? I was just inept. I could not do house lights.
I mean, I used to do house lights, so for me, it's kind of like it became second nature. But honestly, I'm not throwing shade. I'm just being honest. But what makes it worth it for me is at the end of a production to know that I, stuck it out throughout the entire process, that I kind of were the cradling hands for the actors, for tech, and also for the director, because at least with the director for our shows,
shout out to her.
Shout out to her.
Great.
Amazing. But there are some times where the stress just builds and builds and builds. And, sometimes she feels like she's reached her breaking point, and I am there to make sure that, she doesn't completely lose it. So for me, it's worth it to get that experience, to, be with those people, to carry a job from start to finish and really see it through and know that I did the best that I could, even though I might have been freaking out, but that I really got out there and I made it happen. Because at the end of the day, like, my job and everyone else that falls under the stage manager's umbrella, we all make it happen. Mm-hmm. So without us, there would be no show. That's what makes it worth it.
Definitely. And like here you're saying, like how tech people basically build the show. They are the skeleton of the show. What do you think is the difference between a tech person and an actor? Because there are many differences. I was just wondering what your take on that is.
My take on it is usually tech people are the more relaxed on the outside, like a very calm, docile demeanor, but on the inside, they're freaking out 24/7. They are little balls of stress, even though they really don't look it. Tech people are generally more chill than the actors. They're not as loud. They're not as loud. They're not as messy. Actors are very messy, You walk into the dressing rooms and you have a panic attack seeing, you're like, what happens in here,
I thought Irma was over. I thought we left that in 2017.
Yes. God. It's just, I think part of it is, the actors, they're very flamboyant. Not in a negative way, but they just are. They're very out there. They're very in your face.
Isa, I don't think understand. I've never laughed harder on this podcast. To the point of like tears. I think you've accurately described an actor because I acted for one play last year, and then
Binky.
Let's not.
I'll just leave it there. I'll just leave it at that.
I've done tech for every show since. I feel tech is kind of a home. Like I feel like we're a very tight knit group because they're like, oh, drama's a family. I'm like. If anything,
what?
If anything, tech is its own.
Tech is the other limb in the theater productions.
Yeah.
Tech is its own thick leg.
Yeah. And what happens in tech stays in tech.
True. I will say that tech is definitely more closely knit, just because tech has more of the pressure to you need to get it done.
For sure. And, there's less of a hierarchy. So, with actors, it's okay, you have the leads, and then you have the minor roles, and then you have ensemble. And then with tech, really, it's okay, you have stage manager, assistant stage manager, and then all of us. And, we're really okay, we've all done each other's jobs before.
Exactly. You all have your own little roles, but I feel like for tech, generally, we all do each other's work, so it all works. And I always say this to, the tech people that I'm in charge of. I always tell them, no matter what your official role is, that's not what you might always be doing.
Never.
But it's almost always never what you end up doing. So just, if you need to pick up someone else's slack, or you see that someone else has to fill in for someone else, and there's, these little gaps, you fill in the gap. You make it happen. I don't care what your role is. I don't care what you're supposed to be doing. If you see something that needs to be done, do it, no matter what.
Okay, so another part of you is that last summer, right?
Yeah.
Last summer, you went to Spain. And I want to know, what are your Spanish travel tips?
Spanish travel tips would be, don't really bring a credit card. I'd say, I know this is really weird, but try to keep cash on you, because the exchange rate, when you're buying things with a credit card, can kind of come back to bite you.
Oh my God. Oh, the euro.
Yeah, well,
you have
there's usually the credit card people will charge you like an exchange rate.
Oh, okay. I know nothing about credit because I am the least money savvy person there's ever existed, but oh my God.
Yeah, it ends up being a little bit more. Plus, euros already is at a higher value than the US dollar. So I'd say if you're going, try to take out cash and bring the cash with you. Use a credit card like as a dire type of need. But yeah, definitely use cash. Don't be afraid of the metro. I love public transportation where it's good. At least, I don't know about you, but here in Miami, the public transportation
it needs work. It needs a lot of work.
Yes, it's very trashy.
Yeah, I think that is a really great way to describe public transportation. It's like, it's unfortunately a lot of people's only option, but it could be better.
It could be so much better. But I will say that the public transportation in Spain is incredible. You have a complete metro system that will take you anywhere. Anywhere you need to go, you can get there through metro. There's obviously bus, and then you can kind of walk everywhere. So I'd say, save the taxi, save the Uber, walk or take the metro, try to have that very immersive experience because it's great. And I don't know about you, but I love people watching.
Oh, people watching is great. It's great.
I know I might sound kind of crazy for loving people watching, but I love it. I'm so fascinated by it. And I, don't want to disrupt everyone's goings on, but I'm there, I'm part of it. I get to observe and I get to understand.
You learn a lot about people through like people watching. As creepy as it sounds, I feel just like the way people move or the way people speak, like what cadence they're using while they're talking. A lot of it goes into play and you start understanding people a little better. And I feel as a society, that's something we lack.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say another one of my Spanish travel tips is enjoy the view while you're walking around. Just try to, if you want to stop and go into a store or a pub, just walk in and do it. Because it really is, I met some really interesting people out of nowhere because I decided to, walk into the place where I was like, you know what, this looks interesting. I'm going to do it. And I ended up meeting great people, making some friends, and I've always find that very interesting.
So what were your favorite parts of Spain?
My favorite parts were visiting Toledo.
Oh, okay. So I feel like I've left a part of I went to Toledo a couple years back. I left my soul in Toledo. I feel that place, like, I have a connection to that place. I don't know if it's spiritual. I don't know. I don't know if it's spiritual. I don't know if it's just, like, I feel right here. It's just Toledo is the place.
Yes.
And I feel it's so slept on.
It's so slept on. When I went, I was like, wow, there should be so much more people here, but there wasn't. Which was also kind of the best part for me. It was very quaint, and it felt very quiet and, like, cozy, but I walked around and I actually, funny enough, have a picture that I took of a photographer. And, he's dressed very casually, in like a button-down shirt and some cargo pants or whatever. But you can see his passion when he's taking a photo, and I was able to capture that moment. And for me, that was like, that's the energy of this place. Like, I saw it in a very creative way.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know.
Toledo just is a wonderful place.
Yeah. And they're known for making swords over there. Funny enough.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. I like, if reincarnation's a thing, like, I hope, like, at one life I was, like, a sword maker in Toledo. Maybe I was.
Maybe I was just a sword. I don't know. But
maybe you were a sword.
But I wouldn't mind, honestly. It's just, it was such a great environment. I also really loved this place called Altea. It's in Valencia. So it's completely, like, on the other side of Madrid. And it's such a beautiful little town. It looks like Greece. It's incredible. I was so, like, taken aback, like, when I went over there. And just gorgeous and amazing. And I stopped at a little restaurant, and I just sat down and I just watched for, like, half an hour. And it was blazing hot that day. It was maybe, like, 100 degrees outside. But
oh, God.
But it was amazing. You know, there's a beautiful cathedral, and just the architecture, and just walking around, like, just that feeling that you get. You know, it's a feeling that said to me, like, I'm home.
So travel in youth has been kind of a weirdly, like, hotly discussed thing I've seen as of lately. People saying, oh, people should take time off of school to travel. Or like, no, people should wait for travel until you're this age, so you have all your finances together. How do you feel about traveling when you're young?
I feel like traveling when you're young is such an amazing experience, and I think that no one should really have a say in what, you know, youths or, you know, young people get to do. I mean, it's technically, at the end of the day, it's their decision, it's their parents' decision, but I feel like traveling at such a young age is such an amazing experience, because everywhere you go, you learn new things, you experience different cultures, different languages, and I feel like in order to develop a worldly and, you know, informed human being, you need travel, because there's only so much that you could learn in school. A lot of it is just having the experience of being somewhere else, of learning new things, you know?
Yeah, I feel, honestly, as you were saying, like, to be a developed person, you need to travel, and you need to see different parts of the world. In this day and age specifically, that we're in a weird time in which nobody really understands each other. Cultures are very, like, we live in an interconnected time where cultures are meeting and no one knows how to react to it. So I feel that travel kind of takes us out of our own comfort zone and puts us in someone else's shoes and makes us understand how living like that is, and gives us a little bit of empathy to just understanding people's lives and people's struggle, and also, like, just venturing outside of, like, not just, like, the resort areas. Like, if you can, like, if it's safe enough to venture outside of the resort areas, do that, because that's how you understand people.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. And I think that, you know, that interaction, or at least, you know, just like just like a visceral visual experience of a completely different environment for a child is very rewarding, you know? Like, growing up, I mean, I didn't really venture outside of my environment that much when I was younger, but the times that I did, I vividly remember them till this day, and I appreciate them so much. Yeah. I feel like it's just a very important experience.
Thank God my parents would, like, take me places when I was younger, because I am a chronic worrier. I will worry forever. Like, I will have an interaction with someone, and then I'll be thinking about it for the next 10 years, like, analyzing every little thing. So I feel travel kind of helps you break that, because you're constantly interacting with people, and just is like, you don't have time to worry about people. Like, for me, like, travel, it's something that has to be planned. It just, I need to have a lot of things to do, so I don't think about everything at once, because that's bad.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, once you get along with it, you kind of break out of your own comfort zone and you start like shedding off the layers. And I feel like that's so good. And like what you were saying about like constantly worrying, like you kind of at a certain point stop and you're like, I'm going to continue this and I can't, be focused on this one interaction and situation if I'm going to be having them multiple times a day, kind of a thing.
Well, we're going to take a break and we will be back with Isa on this episode of Young and Terrified. Hey, it's your humble host, Katy Someillan here, back at you with some housekeeping. And first on today's order of events, thank you to everyone listening. It has been great, and we have a whole lot more to come this year. This is the year of Young and Terrified. And another thing you can do, if you like listening so much, you can listen on iTunes, where you can subscribe. You can leave a little cheeky review if you're feeling a little spicy there, huh? And I'm ridiculous. You can go on YouTube, you can subscribe to find out when stuff gets posted, you can like the video, and you can share with your friends. It's great stuff. You can also comment and just have a conversation. Let's talk about this episode. On Twitter, the Twitter is at Young_Terrified, and they're just postings of the podcast and just reading my tweets. Please give me attention. On SoundCloud, you can also listen there. Another great place to listen to. And thanks to everyone. And thank you for listening. And we're going to go back to Isa and me in the past. So let's go. And we are back from housekeeping. Isa, right now is where we do the hypothetical question. That's such a difficult word. And you have no idea what I'm going to ask you. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, this is what I'm going to ask you. So, you do debate in school.
Yeah.
And you are fairly good at it. Yeah, definitely. I have read through your stuff and I'm like, oh, wow. Now, if you could debate anything, what would it be? And then you have to prove me on your point.
If I had to debate anything, it would be to impose a universal background check system for guns, for like gun sales or transfers of ownership.
And like, how would you go about trying to convince me, or like trying to dismantle any argument I would have against it?
Well, what I would tell you is that a universal background check system would be implemented federally, meaning that you would have to do it. So it would be technically across the board everywhere. And so what ends up happening is that for every purchase, you have to go through a background check. And so there's the NICS, the National Instant Criminal Check System.
You're doing great, sweetie. Keep going.
So there's that, right? And so the system right now has, a lot of holes in it because it hasn't been implemented federally. So with the federal implementation, all of these holes would be fixed, and they would have to be. And the problem is that most states already require a background check for gun sales and purchases. So it really wouldn't be that hard of a transition. It's just getting these other states on board. So some arguments that you might come up with is, well, that doesn't mean that everyone is going to listen to the law. Well, then, if you're telling me that, then you technically denied the validity of any law, because I can break any law. Right? I can break any law that I want. So by you telling me, well, people aren't going to listen, well, yeah, people don't listen to the law that says you can't murder people. Doesn't mean we don't have any murderers. People still murder people. So that argument is a joke. Another argument is that, people with mental health, they can still get guns. yeah, they can still get guns, but if they do have any medical records, or if they have been 5150'd, so like put into a mental institution or declared mentally unfit by the court, then they can't get one. So only in certain instances would they be able to get one. But, you know, they would be able to get one maybe with or without this universal background check system. So either way, you know, they might still be able to get it, but that's just something we deal with.
It just, that was amazing, first of all. Second, I'm just appalled that that just doesn't exist yet, because here's the deal. There is an actual law in California that you are allowed to shoot on site if someone's on your property.
Yep.
I don't quote me on it because I don't know anything about law, but like I believe that is an actual thing in California.
Well, California does have some of the strictest gun laws.
Yeah. So
in terms of being able to purchase it, but I'm sure that
they do. Like I've seen they do, but the fact that that's actually a thing is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like if I was taking a walk by your house and accidentally I step on the grass and you see me step on your grass and you walk out and want to shoot me with your gun. Okay.
That's an image.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very like hot topic and it's very relevant. And I think that steps need to be taken in order to prevent a lot of these things from happening. And a lot of these mass shootings that have gone on lately could have been prevented if there was a universal background check system. It's as simple as that.
It's so simple. Why hasn't this been done yet? Sincere questions.
Sincere questions. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Okay, Isa, it has been amazing, and it has been a pleasure for you to have come on my podcast today. Thanks to you, and thanks to everyone who's been listening all the way through. You deserve a medal. Now,
thanks for having me.
To talk us out, where do you see yourself in 10, 15, 20 years?
I think I see myself in 10, 15, or 20 years pursuing something that I have a passion for and that I have a drive for. I have the ideas of what I want in my head, but in 10 or 15 years, that might not be what I want. But what I hope for myself is that I can be on that pursuit of something that, you know, ignites a fire within me.
And, like, do you care to share some of those ideas, or is that, like,
well,
your
yeah,
thing?
Yeah. Well, one of them is being a producer, like how I mentioned earlier, for TV shows or movies, you know, making sure that I get that done, especially since entertainment is definitely on the rise with all this new technology. We can watch it on our phones, on our iPads, everything. I think that media and film is such a beautiful form of art. And I am very passionate about that, and I love that. So for me to be part of that experience and helping those films or TV shows get made, yeah.
Well, that sounds amazing. So thank you for being on. Thank you for everyone listening. And I hope you'll have a really nice day. Goodbye.